up with it, guys? This is TK with Cuts by Kelly. We're going to get right into this video. So I'm setting my ball line because we're doing a ball fade here, and I'm going to do that all around the head. A point I want to give out is just make sure you go over this a few times, because typically you might go over it that one time and think it's pretty bald, but if you go over it again, these lining clippers can get it real close. So consider that, just going over it like 2 or 3 times. Our next step, all the way open, and we're setting our midway point, right? So our midway point is from that ball line to our parietal ridge at the side of the head, and that's how we're measuring it. We want to go to the middle of that, and another way to measure it is where your point is going to be at for your lining, where the side of the lining and the top of the lining connect at. That'll be the top of your fade. So now I'm cutting his hair down. Like I said, it looks like it's a 1/16 against the grain, all the way open. Okay, now that we got our stage set, we're going to fade, starting from the middle. You know, that's how I like to do it. I'm going to go close with the 1/16 guard, then I'm going to go quarter, 3/4, then open. So like I said, the prep work was I set my ball line at the bottom, I set my midway point with all the way open, no guard, and then I knocked down the hair to the desired length. If it wasn't this length, it still would be the same fading process, to be honest with you. The only thing you would have to do is knock out the weight on the side with like number 2 guard and the number 1 guard, and then you do the fade with the same guard, which is the 1/16 and the no guard. So right now that's what I'm doing. I'm doing the top of my fade with the 1/16. I just finished doing the quarter. Now this is 3/4 of the way open, my blade. Then after that I'm gonna open it all the way to fade it into the top. So you can see the top part is pretty much faded. Obviously we got that hard line at the bottom that we got to work out, but I typically like to fade the top first and then blend into it. So now after I finish doing that part of the fade, here I go going to the bottom, and I'm going to knock out this line or diminish the line with my trimmers. This is a step you could avoid by when you initially set your ball line, you just set it with the liners like I just had them. Don't set the line hard straight up like you would do a lining, but flip your trimmers over and flick at it while you're making that ball line, and that'll prevent you from making a hard line. And from there, now I'm just doing my fading steps with no guard on. I did close. Here is quarter of the way. I'm gonna go 3/4, and 3/4 usually is right underneath the midway point that we set at the beginning, because the midway point is open with no guard. I hope I'm making sense to you. If you watch a lot of my videos, I'm sure I should be making sense to you right now, but if this is your first time watching my content, you probably will want to check out my other content as well, and that'll give you a better understanding of what I'm doing. Now that we completed our fading steps, now I'm just going back and I'm doing my spot check. The spot check, you can actually just do the fading process all over again, just to make sure you went over every section thoroughly. or you could just look at different spots, and if you can see those spots, then you just address them. If you see that it's kind of dark in the area where you had your guard all the way open, your 116 guard all the way open, then you're gonna go there with all the way open and try to knock out that hair. So if the spot check is a little hard for you, I say just repeat the fading steps in the same areas that you did before, and that should clean it up good enough for you. Now that we got that side faded, we're gonna do this side, and it's the same thing. You see I already have it all prepped. That's something you can do when you're fading if you want to try to keep it as uniform as possible. When you do all your prep work, do it around the whole head, and then you can fade one side. Or if you want to, you can fade the whole head at the same time, But if you want to do one side at a time, you can do all your prep work at the same time, which is setting your ball line all the way around the head, and also setting your midway point all the way around the head, and then debulking around the whole head. And then from there, fade one side, then the other side, then the back. And that's the way I usually approach it. And especially if it's a new client, I like to do the whole head, the prep work for the whole head, because that allows me to get a feel of the shape of the person's head, and I can actually see the texture of the hair from one side to the other. Because typically if somebody sleeps on one side of the head a lot, then that hair tends to be not as straight or as smooth as the other side. So I like to do all my prep work at once, just so I get a feel of the head, and then after that I fade one side and then the other. But you see I just jumped from my fading the top, and now I'm doing my cleanup. I didn't want to show y'all the whole thing again. I figure you should understand how this goes, so I just skipped me fading the bottom, and now I'm just doing my cleanup on this side. Here we go in the back. The back of his hair is fairly easy because of the length it is. When it's low like this, the fading is easier. And then also where his swirl is at the back is kind of high. So I really don't have to adjust the way I'm cutting. I could just go straight up for majority of the back of his head. So that made it even more easy. You can see his scalp is real dry, but that's because I always spray water on the head. If I'm not shampooing it, I'm spraying water on it because I like to cut it while it's dry, because the hair comes off easier. And so I like to do it that way. And then after that, you'll see I'll just put some oil or moisturizer on the hair, just to keep it from being so dry. If you're still here, I really appreciate you. Consider liking and subscribing to this channel. Leave a comment if you have any questions or concerns about what I'm doing. But right now I'm about to put the oil and the moisturizer on his hair, because we're pretty much finished with the fade. And like I say all the time, I do all my fading process, then I do my lineup, and then I do one last spot check, because the lining always brings out imperfections, at least to me. So I do the lining, and then I try to catch whatever imperfections that I can. And for me, if I give you like the time limit, my haircuts is like 30 to 40 minutes. So I want to be able to do all that within that time frame. Anything over, I feel like it's overtime on the head, and then for right now the cost will have to go up. So to make everything work out the right way, I'm gonna do the best that I can in the 30 to 40 minutes that I allow for each client, and I I feel like I get paid for that. So that's how I set mine up. Here we go with the lining, finishing it up. So a point I could give, I usually start on one side, like from the middle to that side, and then I match it to the other side. You can see I did some in the middle already, and I worked my way to that side, his right, our left that we're looking at. Then I'm gonna just do the same thing on the other side. And less is more. I try to take off the least amount with the greatest amount of impact. So man, I really hope you like this content. I really hope you like my channel. If you do, make sure you subscribe. This is the before. Make sure you hit the like button also, and this is the after. So if you like the content, if you like what I'm putting out, consider subscribing, hitting the like button, and leaving a comment. This is TK with Cuts by Kelly, and I appreciate you.